Hey there everybody, Pete Pardo here from Sea Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums. Today we're going to take a look at the studio albums. Well, studio albums plus one live album. There's a reason why I'm including the live album in this one, which I'll get to in a minute. Of the great late 60s, early 70s psychedelic rock band, the Amboy Dukes, right? Or, sometimes referred to as Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes, as this proved to be the band that put Ted Nugent on the map, that eventually led way to his long-lasting solo career, which still continues to this day, right? So they've got 7 albums, 6 full studio albums, 1 album which is a live album. However, I'm going to include it today because, with the exception of one track, it's all new songs, all that they played live on that tour. And why not include it, right? If it was just a live album with all previously, heard songs before, I would not have included it, but I decided to include it today. Plus, it's a short catalog, only 7 albums. So we're going to start off with my number 7, and I'm going to work my way back to number 1. Pretty hard catalog to rank because this is a very strong catalog with some absolutely stellar Ted Nugent guitar playing on all of it, but just, regardless of what the lineup of the band was for each album, pretty stellar stuff. And again, early on, psychedelia, a little bit of blues rock, all right, kind of that garage rock thing. They morphed into more of a, kind of like what Ted was early in his solo career, right? They became more of just a straight hard rock band towards the end. And then, of course, Nugent launched his solo career. But some great hard rock to be found on all these albums, and some absolutely sensational guitar playing. A lot of really good instrumentals. It's funny, listening back again to the Amboy Dukes catalog, I had always forgotten how many really strong instrumentals they did, and I almost wish that Ted would have done more in his solo career. He did a few here and there, but not as much as they did back when the Dukes were going on. So I'm going to start with my number 7. Again, hard to rank. I know I've said this a million times before, but this is my ranking today after kind of going through this for the last week. But, man, give me a month and I'll come back to that. I may rank them differently. So, but it's kind of difficult doing this one. I'm going to go number 7 with Survival of the Fittest Live, it's called. So, again, this is the live album I was talking about. And, this is Andy Solomon, keyboard, sax, and vocals, KJ Knight on drums, Rob Ruzga on bass, and Ted Nugent on guitar and vocals. Again, I'm including it because it's mostly all new material. All right, you got the opening title track on here, which is a absolutely scorching instrumental. And if I remember correctly, it's like just over 6 minutes. Great stuff. You got the bluesy hard rocker, Rattle My Snake. Has some great guitar licks from Ted. You got Mr. Jones' Hanging Party, good hard rocker, a little bluesy elements to it, but it's a pretty good hard rock song. Speaking of blues, you got Papa's Will, which is 9 minutes and change. That's real bluesy. It turns into a really cool kind of psychedelic jam at the end. And then you've got basically an extended version, 21 minutes and change, of Prodigal Man, which is a song from one of their earlier albums, and it's like 21 minutes and change, and plenty of solos from everybody on it. So really good album, good live album, good hearing some cool new songs on here. And this was recorded live at the Easttown Theater in Detroit, Michigan, July 31st and August 1st. So the band played there 2 days, so they took some of the recordings from there, kind of like a return home, right, from the Michigan band. But yeah. Good album. Good, strong album. Something's got to sit at the bottom, right? Number 6, I'm going to go with the debut from 1967. All right, just called the Amboy Dukes. Good, solid record. Very indicative of its time. Totally sounds like it came from 1967. But I will say, some pretty ferocious guitar playing from a very young Ted Nugent on this album. This has got a mix of covers and originals. You got Gimme Love, rocks pretty hard. It's got some great riffs and leads from Ted. You got the real cool psychedelic pop of Psalms of Aftermath. It's got some sitar, nice vocal layers on here. The song Colors kind of, to me, sounds like a mix of like the Jefferson Airplane with Marty Balin singing with a little bit of like Blue Cheer underneath it. Ted's guitar on this album reminds me a lot of kind of the early Blue Cheer stuff mixed with this kind of real kind of, very poppy late 60s psychedelic sound. You got really cool covers of Baby Please Don't Go and Cream's I Feel Fine, both done really, really well. Nighttime also has some aggressive guitar work, but really nice, pleasant, breezy kind of hippie harmonies, hippie vocal harmonies, that sort of thing. I think overall in the entire album, John Drake, very strong vocals. I liked him as a vocalist on the first couple albums. I think this is an underrated psychedelic album of the 60s, and this band is kind of like this, the late 60s psychedelia meets this kind of proto-metal thing at times, right? Like hard rock proto-metal, but definitely cool album. Definitely cool album. From there, I'm going to go number 5 to 1969 for the album Migration. All right. That's the guys on the band in the back. Here we've got Rusty Day, who would later resurface in Cactus, and do some fine vocals there as well. Replaces John Drake on lead vocals. Ted even sings a little bit of vocals on this album for the first time, I believe. You got the opening title track, instrumental title track. Absolutely killer. Great lead guitar. Lots of cool trippy effects. Some cool organ from Andy Solomon. You got Prodigal Man, which I mentioned before, which is on the live album, Expanded. Prodigal Man's kind of really cool, doomy blues rocker. And on here it's got drum and guitar solos, right? But it's obviously regular length song. Well, they go big onto that with tons of solos on that live album I was talking about before. You got the great psychedelic track For His Namesake. You got the kind of jazzy Inside the Outside. Curb Your Elephant has some ton of grooves, some horns, pretty fun song. Then you got the bluesy rocker Loaded for Bear. A lot of strong material on this album. I dig this album quite a bit. Again, you're seeing the shift as the band is getting ready to move into the 70s. They're going to start to move into more of the hard rock thing and leave some of the psychedelia behind, but they would still kind of carry it over for a few albums. I'm going to go to number 4, 1970, the follow-up album, Marriage on the Rocks, Rock Bottom. Okay, kind of a weird title. Marriage on the Rocks / Rock Bottom, whatever that means. Really good album. In fact, I'd say a pretty excellent album. Now they're down to the 4-piece, so it's Nugent, Andy Solomon, keyboards, Greg Arama on bass, and Dave Palmer on drums. Andy sings most of the vocals on the album. You got, once again, opening the album with a lengthy instrumental. This one is Marriage on the Rocks, or just called Marriage, actually. It's a three-part suite, 9 minutes and change. Lot of guitar and organ solos. Awesome. I mean, I love all these instrumentals on these albums. They're so, so good. Very proggy in spots. All right. Definitely can feel some prog rock things going on in this track. Then you got the bluesy rocker Breastfed Gator. Love that title. Get Your Guns. Absolutely organ drenched. Mr. Solomon's doing some great work on that particular track. You got the guitar, the little quick guitar workout, Nonconformist Wildebeest Man. Another crazy song title. A lot of great guitar playing from Mr. Nugent on that one. You got the psych rocker, Today's Lesson. You got absolutely scorching wah-wah guitar solos on Children of the Woods. You got the heavy psych of Brain Games of Yesteryear. And then there's even another bizarrely titled, but still pretty neat song, The Inexhaustible Quest for the Cosmic Cabbage, which blends like jazz and psychedelia and surf rock. Almost sounds like it could have come off of like a Mothers of Invention album from a couple of years before. And it's pretty lengthy as well. But yeah, good stuff. I like this album a lot. Definitely showing some different sides of the band, right? Which is pretty neat. All right, from there, the top 3. Here's where it gets interesting. I had a hard time ranking the top 3. But I'm going to go with what many people usually cite as their favorite album from them, and I dig it quite a bit also. From 1968, Journey to the Center of the Mind. This was the album that really kind of broke the band. All right, it's their second album. Fantastic mix of psychedelic hard rock, and you got the classic title track. I mean, if that doesn't exemplify late 60s psychedelia, I don't know what does. You got the searing Surrender to Your King, which has some absolutely barnstorming, scorching lead guitar from Ted Nugent. It's amazing just how great he was at such an early age, right? Flight of the Bird also rocks quite hard with some big molten riffs. You got another tasty instrumental, Scottish Tea. Lovely guitar tones on that. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Allman Brothers on that particular one. You got the heavy Dr. Slingshot. You got the kind of psychedelic pop of Missionary Mary. The bluesy Mississippi Murderer. That's kind of the one bluesy song on the album. You got St. Philip's Friend, which has got some kind of creepy, almost prog-like organ and keyboards. Pretty well-rounded record. Another like psychedelic classic from this time period. And again, if you're a Ted Nugent fan and only really familiar with his later solo albums, man, you're missing some great stuff on here. Definitely go experiment with some of these albums because there's some terrific guitar playing on here. All right, so my number 1 and 2, I had a hard time with, the top 3 were tough, but it was mainly the 1 and 2, I think, which I had a really hard time. Which do I rank over the other? And ironically, my favorite Amboy Dukes stuff is actually right before Ted went solo, because I think it's still very similar to his solo career material. I'm going to go with 1973's Call of the Wild. Could even be number 1. If you ask me tomorrow, I might change my mind. These two are so close. Really good hard rock album. Really good hard rock album, but this time they're called Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes, right? So it's basically Ted's band at this point. And again, this is moving right towards the sound he would employ on that first solo record. You got Andy Jazowski on vocals, Rob Grange on bass, and Vic Mastriani on drums. Gabriel Magno plays keyboards and a little bit of flute. Title track is really memorable. Rocks hard. You got great guitar licks on Sweet Revenge. You got the heavy rocker Pony Express. Do a little bit of boogie on here. Ted is known for doing some boogie throughout his career. Ain't It the Truth? You got the absolutely snarling instrumental Renegade, which is amazing. Totally killer. Go if you haven't heard this album, go listen to Amboy Dukes, Renegade, YouTube, wherever you go listen to your music, Spotify, whatever. Amazing. You got another cool instrumental, the bluesy instrumental, Rot Gut. It's got some great guitar solos, some cool piano. Below the Belt, another instrumental on here, which goes into kind of like haunting psychedelia, a little bit of prog. And then you got the last track is the heavy rocker Cannonballs, which again will remind you of latter Ted Nugent solo stuff. Great album, good heavy rocking album, love it. But today I'm going to give it to Tooth, Fang, and Claw from 1974. This is the last Amboy Dukes album. So again, Ted Nugent, Amboy Dukes. Love that album cover, right? How crazy is that? It's their heaviest album. This would lead directly into Ted going into that first solo album. And basically the same style just about a year later. Here we have basically the trio of Ted, Rob, and Vic. You got Lady Luck, big and ballsy with some terrific riffing. You got the hard rocker Living in the Woods, which has some cool psychedelic lead guitar that kind of like is a dip back into their earlier sound. You got the absolutely haunting 9+ minute instrumental Hibernation, which for my money has some of his best guitar soloing ever. It's so good. It's kind of dreamy, it's bluesy, jazzy, it's psychedelic, it's proggy, it's dripping with hard rock. It's kind of a little bit of everything. He's just soaring all over that track. So good. You got Free Flight, another terrific instrumental that has like some southern rock flavors to it. Reminds me of Skinner at times. You got the cover of Maybelline, classic rock and roll song, right? It's fun. Kind of unnecessary here, but it's kind of fun. Doesn't really fit, but it's, whatever. And then you got the Barnstorming Great White Buffalo, which I think most people are familiar. He carried that over into his solo career. You got the tender psychedelia of Sasha, and then the bluesy hard rocker No Holds Barred, which kind of finishes off the album, which again has some wild guitar solos towards the end of it. Just an amazing, fun, hard rock album. So there you have it. Tooth, Fang, and Claw coming in at number 1. Call of the Wild coming in at number 2. Journey to the Center of the Mind, number 3. Marriage on the Rocks, Rock Bottom, number 4. Migration, number 5. Amboy Dukes, number 6. And Survival of the Fittest Live, number 7. There you have it. Ranking the albums of Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes. Early on, just the Amboy Dukes. Later on, Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes, or Ted Nugent's Amboy Dukes, or the Amboy Dukes featuring Ted Nugent, however the hell you want to say it. I think they said, they called it all of the above, right? But a really cool catalog. Before Ted became the larger-than-life persona, here's Ted just playing in a band and playing some pretty mean guitar. So if you haven't listened to these albums, go check them out. Like I said, I know most people are familiar with Journey to the Center of the Mind. Their classic album, their most remembered album, but man, some of these others, quite good. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Rank them as you like them in the comments below. Stay tuned tomorrow morning for another edition of Classic Album Rewind. And we've got Hudson Valley Squares Monday night. Tuesday is in the Prague seat. We're going to talk about some of our favorite keyboard players with Team A. Wednesday is a new product review day, so we're going to have a handful of videos for you on new stuff from, what do we got here? Flotsam and Jetsam, Big Big Train, Can, Dennis DeYoung, Black Sabbath box set for Sabotage. Thursday is Monsters Den, where we are going to be giving some of our favorite Alfred Hitchcock thrillers. Friday morning at the Funhouse with Martin Popoff. But remember, each and every day, first thing in the morning, you're going to get Classic Album Rewind, and we'll see what happens next weekend, right? So take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube. Oh, that's right, all the damn time. I am Pete Pardo. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. Click the notification bell. Link to our Ko-Fi page below if you want to make a channel donation. Link to our merch page if you want to check out and see what we got for sale on the Sea of Tranquility gear, so to speak, website. Otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning with another edition of Classic Album Rewind, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.